If you've been mapping for a while, you will have built up multiple maps of your organization for different business lines, markets, or users. You'll have probably started to notice the same components appearing again and again. And the question you should ask yourself is, are these duplicates or not? In other words, do recurring mentions of the same technology across many maps indicate the same technology is being used everywhere? Or have you just discovered that different parts of your organization are deploying multiple instances of the same technology to essentially do the same thing? For example, is the CRM system referred to on one map the same CRM that's on the other maps? Or are there multiple CRMs being used throughout the organization? This problem of duplication is far more common and far more damaging than most organizations know. If you ask any leader how much duplication they have in their organization, they usually answer none or very little. But if you don't have any way of seeing this, then how do you know? In reality, leaders significantly underestimate the amount of duplication in their organization and the amount of waste that goes on. Based on research, a general rule of thumb is, in an organization of a reasonable size, technologies will be duplicated 6 times. That means, for example, 6 different CRM systems used in the same organization, with 6 different contracts, 6 different invoices being paid, and 6 different teams working on them. But in some organizations, the amount of duplication and waste has been found to be far, far worse. The maps of one national bank revealed not 6 but 14 CRM systems. And in a single government department, over 100 workflow systems were discovered. And in one global technology firm, 170 cloud projects were in play at the same time. But the duplication record belongs to a global financial firm that was, unknowingly, running over 1,000 risk management systems. This amount of waste is mind-boggling. That's why, when organizations start mapping, they're often shocked to find duplication everywhere. And the implication is startling. Up to 90% of current IT spend is wasted on duplicated efforts, misapplied techniques, and focusing on irrelevant user needs. Maybe your organization is the exception to this rule. But don't be surprised to find out if it isn't, and that waste from duplication and bias is far worse than you think. And this doesn't happen because IT is being deliberately wasteful. It emerges over time as very few people in business have had any way of seeing the whole picture. They take action in one part of the organization without knowing what has or is being done elsewhere in the organization, as they have no way of seeing this. The solution to this is to start mapping and create a technology inventory showing which technologies are currently being used where in your organization. You can then compare maps to see where efforts are being duplicated and start removing it by redirecting people and capital to areas that create new sources of value. Let's show you how this worked in a real-life example. In 2015, the UK government launched a digital transformation of its public services and started with 3 critical branches: customs, immigration, and police. They used maps to identify the different technologies in use across these 3 value chains, such as user registration systems, websites, and e-catalogues. This revealed where they had duplication of efforts. For example, between these 3 branches of government, they were running 9 different websites. Not only was this a waste of resources, doing 9 times what they could do once, but it was also confusing for users, UK citizens, who didn't know where to look for information. Therefore, the government took the decision to move all public service information onto one website, which still runs today and has won multiple awards. This not only served user needs better, but saved a significant amount of resource, as they only needed 1 team to manage the website rather than 9. But maps also enabled them to tackle another equally large source of waste: bias, which is when people make decisions based mostly on their own preferences rather than for good reasons that could withstand a bit of challenge. For example, let's look at the user registration systems again. You can see here there are 5 user registration systems, each being treated as commodity-like components, which means they're probably using some kind of standard software. But for some reason, one team is custom building its own user registration system. Now, there might be a very good reason for doing that, perhaps security. But it's equally likely that someone is simply reinventing this wheel for no good reason at all, except that they want to. But without maps, it's very difficult for anyone in authority to either see or challenge the team doing this, as all technology is elvish to them. But challenge becomes easier with a map. Now you can ask, why do we need another user registration system? And why do you need to custom build it yourself? This is how non-technology leaders can better lead even technology projects like digital transformations. Every organization has been using technology for years, and the amount of waste due to duplication and bias out there is enormous. But without maps, you've no way of seeing or doing anything about this. But with maps, you can clearly see what you should and shouldn't be building yourselves, buying or outsourcing to others. The savings you can make for your organization can be huge. They might cover the cost for the entire digital transformation project you're running. For example, Liam Maxwell, formerly the head of the UK government's digital service team, estimated that maps helped them identify cost savings of £425 million in 2015 alone. And he expected, over their entire transformation, maps would have saved the UK government over £1.5 billion, mainly by removing and preventing duplication and bias. Maxwell, who is now at Amazon, embraced the Wardley mapping principles. He even had a "What is the user need?" emblazoned on his mobile phone case, so he could hold it up in meetings and remind tech teams to focus on the golden principle. So if you think your organization has no problem with bias and duplication, we have a question for you. If you don't have maps of your organization, how do you know? And if you want to find out and save huge amounts of your current IT spend so you can redirect it to your future IT spend, start mapping today.